Hey, Jeff.
There, hello.
And we are just waiting on Al to get going since he's chairing the meeting.
Oh, Pat's. Oh, this is he Water Supply Bank?
Yes, Al is.
Oh, okay. You'd think I'd know that.
It's a fiercely contested seat to get that
Green
chairmanship.
Jeff,
What's that? Did somebody ask me a question?
yeah, Jeff, did you get your grain harvested?
Yes, I got done with grain harvest a week ago today. I'm going to start digging potatoes tomorrow.
That's good.
I hope so.
I got to start digging beets.
When do you start digging beets?
Deliver for a week on September 3rd, and then I don't dig again. Then I don't dig again till October 3rd.
Oh, that means you can come help me dig potatoes.
Depends on if you want competent help.
That's why I want you to come and help.
How you coming on grain harvest, Mark?
We finished essentially about a week ago today, but we had 4 little spots we left that we cut on Friday. Total of about 30 acres we cut Friday, so we're done.
I'll have Jennifer resend it to you right now.
We had some corners that we had hand lines on, that kind of thing. They were a little greener than the pivots, so
Okay,
we left a couple of those
right
spots.
now. Here we go. Okay, thanks.
Sure, everything sure ripened up in a hurry this year. By the time I got done, I was 8% moisture.
Yeah,
You heard that.
I did.
Thank you.
you just hope you didn't hit a rock and create a spark.
Yeah.
I had a sprinkler pipe one year they left out in the field and started a fire. On a year when it was a lot like this, hot and really dry. Jumped out of the combine and thought I could stomp it out. Golly, before I got out, it was so hot I couldn't even hardly get back in.
Okay, Al is logging in right now, so he'll be just a minute.
We lost about an acre of grain, is all it amounted to. But it was kind of wild for a minute.
You're lucky.
Josh was driving down the road and a neighbor had a disc hooked onto a tractor. It was on an international. So he borrowed the tractor, come running out and dumped the disc to the ground and killed the tractor right in the middle of the fire. And then couldn't get it started again because it was international. He's used to driving John Deere. So it was kind of a 3-rig circus for a few minutes. But we all survived.
I guess the moral of that story is combining, right?
We try to keep a disc in the field, but where we're at, just in case. But
I keep a disc in a water truck. So
There's Al.
Sorry for my technological challenges. So Brian, are we ready to call the meeting to order?
When you are, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, Then let's call the Water Supply Bank meeting number 1-25, scheduled for August 18th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, held by Zoom and by in person at the Water Center, to order. Do we have our committee members?
You have all committee members present, Mr. Chairman. You also have all other board members present.
Oh, what a wonderful surprise. Okay, so Brian, are you going to have Mary give us a little presentation on the status of the water bank rules?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, we're going to start by just taking about 5 or 10 minutes. And Shelley Keene with the department is going to take just a few minutes to discuss some organizational structure changes for how the water supply bank is staffed. And then we will walk into the water supply bank rules.
Okay, well, welcome, Shelley, and please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. As Brian mentioned, my name is Shelley Keene, one of 2 deputy directors here at the Department of Water Resources. And I do want to talk about staffing the water supply bank program here in the department. As I think you're probably aware, our former water supply bank coordinator, Mary Condon, who's on with us and is going to be your next presenter, has taken a different role in the Planning and Projects Bureau. And this put IDWR in the position of needing to think about how we move forward with that program, both in terms of leadership of that program and overall staffing. And in thinking through what we wanted to do, we came up with a plan that's reflected in the organization chart that's on your screen, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But first, just want to share some of the objectives that we had in mind in creating this organization structure. So the first one was to continue to put emphasis on and continue trying to improve the timely processing of rental applications. I know that's something that has been of importance to all of you and remains of importance to us as well. So that was a key objective for us. And we thought along those lines, it would be helpful to build a team of water supply bank specialists who work together and focus, if not all of their time, most of their time together on the water supply bank. We thought it would be helpful to have a single line of accountability for the water supply bank. As you may know, before now, our work efforts in the water supply bank were divided between the Planning and Projects Bureau, which reports up through Brian, and the water rights section, which reports ultimately up to me. And that, I think, resulted sometimes in a little bit of uncertainty about who was in the position to make some key decisions that maybe didn't rise to the level of needing to come to you, but nevertheless, we needed to work through in the department. We wanted to have less reliance on some of the water rights section staff who have been contributing to the water supply bank and trying to shore up that effort in years past, particularly during busy times in the spring and maybe into the early summer. And then also, we wanted to be sure that we could provide a similar level of leadership to what Mary, in her role and service to the water supply bank, had been providing, so that we have someone who can address program efficiencies and program policy and just try to keep it functioning smoothly, and also maintaining that good communication channel with you all. So what we have done is we've moved all the positions that work on the water supply bank into the water rights section. If you look on the chart in front of you, there's kind of a bluish gray group of staff arranged in a column on the right-hand side of the page. It's not the rightmost column, but the one second to the rightmost. There's a water rights supervisor. That position is currently vacant. And then we have a principal water resource agent, Aaron Olson, who's been in that role for a while there. Izzy Crichton, who was reporting to Mary and was in the Planning and Projects Bureau, has been moved to this section to continue her work on the water supply bank. We are considering adding a technical record specialist to that group. More on that in just a moment. And then also Chris Margheim, who's been in the water rights section for a little while now. Many of you may know her because she was our front desk staff person for a while. She's going to be in the water supply bank group. And we think this staffing level with 4 or 5 should give us the opportunity to build a team that specializes in processing water supply bank leases and rentals, and can provide a significant amount of efficiency year-round for the water supply bank, under the leadership of the water rights supervisor position, which we're currently recruiting for. Regarding the technical record specialist 2, that would require reclassing a currently vacant position, and we're not exactly sure how the governor's 3% holdback executive order from last Friday is going to affect that. So we're going to have to explore that a little bit more on that later. So this group we'd like to see it be 5, but it may only be 4 staff people. Anyway, with that, any questions, anyone? Oh, let me do one more thing before I go to questions. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out that we have in our meeting here today, Phil Hummer, who's the water rights section manager, who you'll see toward the top of the organization chart there, and also Craig Saxton, who's the water allocation bureau chief. And so the reporting line will be from that supervisor to Phil and Craig and up to me, and that will be how the accountability will go for program operations. And with that, any questions? All right, hearing no questions.
Sally, I do have
Oh,
a question, if
sure.
nobody else has one. In the past, what we were doing before was borrowing people from the Water Rights Bureau to help manage during the heavy load time in the fall and early winter, to try and get as many of those applications reviewed and out the door before irrigation began, and then pulling them back into the water rights section during the irrigation season. Is that not part of the plan now?
Mr. Chairman, I think that opportunity still exists. There will still be the opportunity at Phil and Craig's discretion to call on more of their team to help support the water supply bank program in times of need. But it is our hope that by building this single team and having them focus on the water supply bank year round and develop a high level of expertise in that program, that the need to pull in others from the water rights section will diminish over time.
Okay, and then do we have a estimate of the workload? How many applications we're going to be able to have each person handle? I mean, is it going to be 50? Is it going to be 100? How many people, how many applications can somebody reasonably do? And is 4 or 5 enough if they're not getting regular help from the other group?
Mr. Chairman, I do not have numbers like that available to me today. I don't know if we worked through them, but I think that's something that we could certainly do if you'd like to see those numbers. I think that as far as the numbers go, like I said, certainly there's the opportunity to add staff as needed to this. But again, we're really hopeful that by building a team that can focus on water supply bank and do that almost exclusively, that if we can retain those staff in these positions, we'll develop some efficiencies that and some competencies that will help the individual staff members accomplish more than they have been able to do on a regular basis in the past.
Well, I'm not advocating having specific or sending you back to come up with specific numbers. I just wanted to make sure that that we're anticipating how we're going to handle all of the water bank rentals with the staff of 4 or 5. And I guess what I'm hearing is it'll be we're going to try it and see. And if we need more people, we'll try to bring more people. And if not, that's great. And hopefully over time, the need for other people will diminish or go away entirely.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jeff. Maybe another way to ask your question is, in the past, how many water rights people have been assigned to work on a temporary basis on water supply bank leases? What, because it's kind of been an off-season thing.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff, I do have some information that I can recall that would answer that question. At times in years past, we have had as many as, I think, 9 different staff members in the water rights section spend a small percentage of their time processing water supply bank, primarily rental applications, but also lease applications too. I don't think that total time spread among all of those staff members ever added up to much more than 1 full-time person. But it did involve a lot of different staff members who also, of course, had other duties related to our obligations to process applications for permit transfers, et cetera, and issue licenses as well.
And then I guess if I might, Mr. Chairman, one more follow-up. So based on the amount of fees that we're collecting within the water supply bank, how much is the department going to have to subsidize this new staffing level? Or do we need to look at fees? Or I know we made some adjustments a couple of years ago. Where are we at on that?
Mr. Chairman, Jeff, I don't have that information available either. I think our focus right now is hiring on the supervisor to supervise this section. But certainly when we have a supervisor in place, that would be something that we could look at, and we probably have to work with Mary. I think she's probably for years past put together numbers like that for her reports. My hunch is there probably is some gap there between what the water supply bank program is generating and what it actually costs, but I don't know exactly what that is.
Okay, thank you.
So Jeff, that was an excellent question. I think Shelley, it would be worthwhile, not today or anytime immediately, but trying to figure out how those 4 or 5 people fit in with the revenue that can be expected or historically has come through the water bank fee process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll work on that.
Do any other board members or committee members have any questions of Shelley?
Mr. Chairman, Shelley, this is Brian. So Shelley, when you get the vacancies filled, for instance, I've had, a farmer might come to me and say, I need to get into the water supply bank, and I would have immediately referred him to Mary. So when you get that, whoever's going to be that point person for a, first step in water supply bank, it'd be nice to get us that contact information. Unless you've already got that person. Who would I refer a farmer to if they want to get a water supply lease going?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Brian, we haven't hired that supervisor yet. That recruitment process is underway. As soon as we do, we'll certainly get that information out to you. Meanwhile, I think you could contact Phil Hummer, the water rights section manager, and he would be able to direct any caller or any interested party to the right person in the section to get that process started.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Shelley? Shelley, do you have anything else you want us, any other good news you want to share with us today?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Brian, we have a next item on the agenda.
Yes, next item is the tribal water supply bank rules, and Mary will lead that discussion. I also understand some representatives from the tribes are on the Zoom call.
Okay, well, let's start with Mary's presentation and recommendation, and we'll move on from there. Thank you, Mary. Please take the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for setting aside this time so you could hear these comments that have been received. I think I should probably share the materials, so I'm going to do that real quick. Are you able to see the first memo that's up here on the screen?
I can.
Okay, great. So as you're aware, we are currently undergoing the negotiated rulemaking for the tribe's water supply bank rules. We have had 2 public meetings. As part of that negotiated effort, we have received a written comment from the tribes through Brett Bovey, who is also online with us today. And he is the director with Westwater Research. And I had presented their request during our last regular board meeting, and y'all had requested that we have this special committee meeting to further consider their comments. Within my materials, I've included a draft of the straw man rule and a summary of all the changes that I've made, as well as the written comments that were received from Mr. Bovee on behalf of the tribes. The summary of changes that I have in here, they're approximately 3 or 4 pages long. I could go through these, or if you've already had a chance to review them, we could go to any comments or questions you may have. The way we go through this is up to you.
So, Mary, what I'd like you to do is do a very high-level review, not go into individual detail unless board members or committee members have questions about the individual specific rules.
Okay, I can do that. So most of the changes that we've made to this rule set is to incorporate by reference specific articles that were already within the 1990 Fort Hall Agreement. And any of those that were incorporated meant that we no longer had to list that specific language in the rule because we had incorporated by reference. A couple of other changes we made, we did update the title to match exactly how it was in the Fort Hall Agreement. It also reduces words on the title of the rule, as well as when it's referenced within the rule itself. And then all of these honestly are just for incorporation by reference, or they were no longer relevant. These aren't used, so excuse me. This first one right here for rental of water from the rental pool, this is one of the comments that we received from the tribes, and this has to do with rental priorities. So I explained why it is that the language states the way it does, and then in the footnote, I have given some background. Specifically, this one says that the tribes will give notice to the Fort Hall Indian Irrigation Project water users. The tribes have requested that we strike this requirement out because there's no longer an association of water users. However, in my footnote, I've linked to the original federal statutes that were part of the McCod diversion, and the reason why the Fort Hall Indian Irrigation Project water users, not specifically an association thereof, is included within this rule. So my recommendation would be to keep this requirement that these water users be notified when water is made available.
So, Mary, can I ask, are you proposing to require notice to, I mean, how do you provide notice to an association that doesn't exist? Who gets this notice if it goes to the project water users?
Right. For Mr. Chairman, from my understanding, this requirement in the Fort Hall Agreement and in the McCod contract does not specify an association, but rather individual water users of the project.
Right. So how do you get the notice to the individual water users?
I would suggest doing it the same way other irrigation districts may do it, by doing some sort of public notice on the tribe's websites, or perhaps some sort of notice in a paper. I think that it would be cumbersome to try to notify if there are still 2,000 water users to notify those, but because it's such a large population, still provide that. If we remove this from the rule, we would no longer be consistent with what the Fort Hall and the McCod contract requires.
So do we lay out in this rule the method for notification, or is that something for another day?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go down to the specific language in the rule, if I may. I don't believe I have any suggestion in the rule for how they would notify them. It's just that they would notify them.
Okay, all right, great, go ahead.
The second big change here that was also was not a change, but was a request by the tribes to change was rule 40.03.e. And that is for an approved rental agreement requires a description for the point of diversion and place of use. The tribes requested that if it's for mitigation by non-use, that this not be required. I have put in the footnote here that any of our water right approvals through the department that are for mitigation by non-use or any non-diversion approvals always include a point of diversion and a place of use. And I would suggest to the tribes that they specify the mitigated rights that that rental is for as the place of use and point of diversion. So my recommendation would be to keep this in the rule.
Any questions for the committee members or the board members on those two changes or those two provisions? Okay. Brian has advised me that one of the tribal representatives has her hand up. I cannot see that on my screen. So if that's the case, is there someone from the tribe who wants to make a statement about this?
Yes, this is Gail Martin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So on that first request about the Fort Hall irrigation project water users, the association that we used to, like, as Mary stated, the association we used to provide this notice to, they've been disbanded for quite some time. What I'm seeing or what I'm thinking is maybe we just provide notice to the irrigation project, and it would be on them to notify the water users because they are the ones who have direct contact with those water users. We do not.
Do you have any objection to Mary's suggestion of posting it on your website?
The only objection I have is we don't have control over the website. The website is controlled by our IT department. And whereas we're rebuilding our website, we don't have one right now. We do have a newspaper that we can print it in, but it's just a lot of times when we have these water rentals that come up, they're right after the date of allocation and people are wanting to know that they've got a secured agreement in place. And I don't know if that would provide a timely method to get that agreement solidified.
Does any committee members or board members have any questions about notification to the irrigation project as a alternative to some kind of more broad notification?
Mr. Chairman, this is Brian. I don't see a problem with the project must have communication with their water users on a fairly regular basis. So it seems to me like if the tribe notifies the water delivery organization, then with the requirement that they would pass that information on to the water users. I think that'd be more likely to get there than a website that might or might not be very well published. Somebody's communicating with those irrigators, and so that would be the entity that should get the notification to them.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comments from the board members or committee members? All right. And then Mary, you had some additional comments?
I do. I'll go ahead and continue sharing.
Oh, Ms. Martin, did I miss something else you wanted to say?
Yeah. What was the last section that Mary went over. I thought I had a comment.
The point of diversion, place of use.
Yeah, the point of diversion and place of use on those agreements as well. We serve some of the mitigation water we provide serves large irrigation districts, and putting those individual water rights in there is going to be very cumbersome unless that district wants to provide a list of those water rights that the mitigation covers. That's just something that we need to think about when you want to put a point of diversion on. I mean, right now we've got an agreement with American Falls, Aberdeen, and that's quite a large district.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jeff. Could that not be remedied by the place of use being within the boundary of the American Falls Aberdeen Groundwater District?
Mr. Raybould, that's exactly what I was thinking. They've got one or more points of diversion. I don't know how many they have, but we also, all of our districts have those digital boundaries saying, here's the boundary of our place of use. If it's for that district as opposed for specifically for an individual water user, then we should be fine doing it by district by district. Is that would that be an issue, Gail?
I think that would be a better method than looking at a POD. I mean, if we just name the district, I think that would work for us.
Well, I don't know these districts, so I don't know if Aberdeen, American Falls has more than one place of diversion or point of diversion, but it seems like that would be pretty easy to list their points of diversion.
Alex groundwater, so there'd be 1,000 points of diversion.
Okay.
I think as far as tracking it for this purpose, if we knew that there was a lease for 1,000 acre feet that was going to be used within that district, and the water's probably going to end up going to SWC, this water that they're renting for mitigation. But I would think that we could simplify that and get that down so you didn't have to delineate whether it was going through a surface water coalition headgate or through or for recharge or whatever. If we just said that it's for that district, and I don't know what we'd have to do to change what we've got in rule right now, Mary, to accomplish that, but that seems like a reasonable request.
Okay, I hear that comment. Is there anything else, Mary, you want to keep going on your list?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see Brett, he just raised his hand as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think that last point is good because the nature of how this has worked for the last 10 years or so is the lease is entered into for a 5-year period, and the water that's leased is leased to maybe 3 or 4 different districts, and how they manage that year to year does change. And so at the time of the lease, when we go and follow the steps of the rules that we're talking about today, the truth is you don't know the exact nature of use. What you do know is it's going to be used by these 4 districts. It's going to be used for these purposes. But at the time that that the lease gets approved of following these rules, there are some specifics that you don't know. And so the last comment that was made, I agree with. There needs to be some description of the use, absolutely, and some bounds on it, but we might not be able to sort of allocate to individual PODs or POUs at the time that the lease is entered into.
So Brett, you said something about not knowing the nature of the use. Isn't this all mitigation, the nature of the use? Mitigation?
Sorry, I misspoke then. We definitely know the nature of the use.
Okay. I just wanted to double check that. All right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dean. I've got a comment on that.
Please do.
As one of the districts that leases that water, I'd agree with that. You know, sometimes we know it's all for mitigation, but where it's going doesn't usually get determined until September or later in the year. So, it depends on where the needs are, whether it could be going for conversion water, which is mitigation, or it could be SWC, could go a lot of different places. So I think just identifying the district is probably a pretty good idea.
Thank you, Dean. Any other comments on that topic? Okay, Mary, your turn. You're back up.
Thank you. I will continue sharing and we'll get to this next comment. So the last change, or the last requested change that was part of the comments that we received, is Rule 55. This is going to be terms of rentals. And for this one, the tribes have requested that rather than come before the board, the Water Resource Board, for rental requests over 5 years, that they have the discretion and that they provide public notice instead to the Water Resource Board. And so I would recommend keeping the requirements only because we have not seen any requests over 5 years. So I'm not familiar with what that would look like. We haven't had a chance to go through those type of meetings. So I would suggest keeping it, and then once we reach that, then reevaluate if we could take this requirement away. But this requirement is consistent with the board's bank and the other rental pools. And this isn't an extraordinary request to have the tribes do the same for their bank.
So Mary, under our ordinary rules or other water bank rules, people can petition the board for a longer period, can't they?
They can.
On a rental by rental basis, right?
Yes, and we have those for leases as well. So the tribes aren't restricted on their lease terms for placing water in, but they are on how long they can rent it back out. And so for our normal water supply bank rules under IDAPA 370203, there is a requirement which also includes public notice by advertisement whenever it meets a certain CFS or rate, and then also sometimes additional review by the director, depending on what the request is.
So do these rules for the Shoshone-Bannock rental bank rather, do they include that language that allows them to, on a case-by-case basis, ask for more than 5 years?
The specific language in the rule, I'll just scroll down to that very quickly. Says that the committee may rent tribal stored water for a period of up to 5 years, and any request to rent water for a period in excess of 5 years will be subject to negotiations between the tribes and the Idaho Water Resource Board, and then consistent with IDAPA 370203-040. So that's Rule 40 for rental pools, which is more specific that correlates more with what the tribes are doing. And then the specific requirement in Rule 40 is 01.g. So I've included the specific rule in this rule for them to refer back to.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, board members, any questions, comments of Mary on this section? Ms. Martin, I assume you're going to want to make a comment about this.
Yes, the tribe doesn't see, I mean, Mary, this rental pool is unique to the tribe. And this agreement, the agreement was agreement between 3 sovereigns. This term limit was never in the agreement. We would like to have the ability to lease longer than 5 years. We haven't to date done any leases past 5 years. However, we've had inquiries about leasing for periods of longer than 5 years. And we are requesting that that be removed. I believe Brett Bowie also will have some comments to this as well.
So I have a question for you on that. What's the difficulty in following the same process everybody else has to? If you want more than 5 years, come talk to the board and you may get it.
We'd like to have the ability to go negotiate that on our own terms before. I mean, we can't negotiate something and then have to go to the board for approval. It's a hindrance to us.
Okay, so, all right. Anything else you want to say about that?
Not at this time.
Okay, Brett, I assume Gail said that you have some comments on this.
Yeah, I think my comments are similar, but I mean, the main reason we're asking for this change in the procedures is there was a lot of negotiation in the late 1980s around this tribal water bank and its establishment. And if you read the agreement, clearly it was clearly established that the tribe could operate an independent water bank that was independent from the other rental pools that had been established. And as Gail said, the agreement does not provide a 5-year limitation on rentals. And that's not stated as a limitation. It was put into the rental pool rules, the tribal water bank rules, after the agreement was signed. And in the process of reviewing these with Mary and with the department, we were comparing the agreement back to the water bank rules, and there have been some conversations over the last 20 years where people have made requests to rent more than 5 years. And as Gail was saying, it does create a bit of a hindrance, a procedure issue if we need to go ask approval of this board for a rental over 5 years. And since it wasn't in the agreement, we are asking that you consider waiving that. I guess the other question or point I'll make is just thinking about why that 5-year rule was established as part of these rental bank rules. And my reading of it is that the 5-year limit was really a concern over forfeiture primarily, that there was concerns about water rights being rented for long periods of time and then no review of use during the rental period. And so the tribe's water rights being protected from forfeiture, I'm wondering if that 5-year limitation and sort of the impetus for it really comes into play. I feel like it does not. So we're asking for a waiver because of those reasons.
So, Brett, I'm not familiar with all the details of the 1990 water rights agreement, but it doesn't have anything in there about terms of rentals one way or the other. Is that right?
Yeah, it does not. I would say
Does not address the issue.
And I would say, as I was saying, if you do kind of read through the text, I think the terms weren't defined because the tribal water bank was purposely intended to be managed by the tribe with some independence of the existing rental pools.
Well, it is, right? It's a separate rental pool from Water District 1.
It is separate, that's right.
And there was a role in this agreement for the department, right?
You said a role?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a role. Yep.
Okay. Members of the committee, members of the board, any questions for Brett or Gail?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, this is Jeff. I just, a comment was made that it was difficult or impractical to negotiate an agreement longer than 5 years with this rule in place. I think you could go ahead and negotiate the agreement subject to uh, a favorable outcome from the negotiations between the water board and the tribe. I guess I have a couple of concerns, particularly if the lease is for water that goes below Milner. And I don't know offhand, I should, but I don't. Uh, does the tribe have any last to fill requirement for their space if they lease water past Milner? Can anybody answer that?
They do not.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Chairman, Craig Chandler is actually on the Zoom call as well, just in the event that questions like that arose.
okay. How do we manage all that, Craig? If I might, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Yeah,
Craig.
Mary's correct. There's no last to fill for any of the tribal rentals.
So let me ask Craig a question. When you do a rental, even with the tribal bank, is there a injury analysis that the department undertakes?
Not that I'm aware of. No. It's just basically notification provided to me, and then I move the water around.
Okay, and is that different than any other rental pool? That there's not? I thought in rentals, there had to be an injury analysis to make sure that that rental wasn't causing injury to existing water rights.
Mr. Chairman, can I answer that one?
Please, Mary.
It's within the 1990 Fort Hull agreement that there would be no injury through a rental because that's already been mitigated by the settlement.
Okay.
That's a shortened version of what the language says, but it is within the Fort Hull agreement that there would not be an injury through their rentals.
And I would add that in Water District 1 rentals, we don't do an injury analysis either. I mean, the rules are framed to be operated in a way that prevents injury, but there's no separate analysis that is undertaken if it's within those rules.
Okay, any further questions from the committee or the board members after that explanation?
Mr. Chairman, Brian here. I'd have a question, I guess, for Dean Stevenson, being one of the people who does use this water from the tribe. Do you see a much of a disadvantage to having, or an advantage to having a longer term lease? Would that help you guys with planning on, say, a major, like for instance, your pipeline project or anything? If you had a longer term lease, so you had some certainty that you'd have the water supply, and
Yeah,
same
Brian.
thing from the tribe. It'd give them a little more ability to try and look longer term.
Yeah, Brian, feel free to interrogate all the board members.
So,
Go ahead, Dean.
so first off, I guess I acknowledge that my district, I'm the chairman of district that does lease that water. I think longer would always be better. I mean, I think a longer term would be better for our district and most districts, and it gives you a longer horizon to do this. So up to this point, most of the water, the bulk of the water that we lease goes to the SWC for mitigation. But it would, I don't see that going away very soon. So I think longer term would be better. Speaking from somebody who's leasing the water.
Well, so Dean, aren't there arrangements in place to lease water from other folks that are longer than 20 years, but you still have to go back and get water board approval, or longer than 5 years rather. So you still have to go back and get approval from the water board every 5 years? I thought there were some of those in place. Jeff, do you know?
That we don't have any leases. I think all the leases we have from others are all 5-year leases.
Al, I don't know of any that are over 5 years. I think there may have been some way back when, but then the decision was made to make the rentals and the leases all subject to a 5-year limitation.
Yeah.
That was a few years back.
Yeah, I was using the wrong terminology. What I meant was, aren't there some private agreements outside in the water bank field where a person has the water that they're not going to use, a person wants to use it for longer than 5 years, has a side agreement for that longer period of time, and yet has to go back every 5 years for water board to put that water, lease that water into the bank and rent it out at that time with the pinned lease and rental agreements.
There may be. I can't say for certain, but that does sound like something that would be out there.
Al, I think what you're talking about, there are some in the groundwater world using the state water bank. There are some longer term leases in that. I know there's been some, that's groundwater to groundwater, but I know there's been some that have been quite a bit longer than that. In fact, I think some up to 20 years.
Okay. So Mary, is there anything else you would like to bring to our attention about the rental pool?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only other comment I'd like to add about terms of rentals is that this 5-year requirement for the tribes is longer than their requirement for their permanent. They have a longer, I don't even know how to say this right now, but if they want to do a permanent transfer of any of their water, they are required to provide public notice. And also the rental pool that they operate is overseen by a committee, a rental pool committee, which is made up of the Snake River area manager, the Water District 01 water master, and 3 tribal members, as well as the reservation water master. So there is a lot of oversight here. There is a lot of people who are working together, but in the end, this agreement did ask that this be under the board and for them to promulgate these rules on behalf of the tribes. And that's all I have to say for that. I don't have any other changes to cover on this proposed rule.
All right, thank you. So I guess now we're in a position where the committee needs to make a recommendation to the board. That recommendation may be to ask staff to make some additional changes. That recommendation may be to make some specific changes, or that recommendation may be to approve the draft as proposed by staff. And
Yes,
so
sir.
I will throw that open to the committee members for discussion.
Al, this is Mark.
Please, Mark, go ahead.
I've been listening here intently because this is a subject I have absolutely no knowledge on. So it's not, my silence is not a lack of interest, but literally the suggested changes to me didn't look out of line. But other than that, I'm willing and listening to what the wisdom of the folks who deal with water banks all the time have to say.
Okay. And the other committee members?
But a caveat to that is, I would love to see a water bank on Bear River if we went there, but we don't have one. So thank you.
Can we rent some water from the the Shoshone Bannocks to Bear River? Can we do that?
If it'll flow uphill.
Okay. I don't have my list of committee members in front of me, so is there anybody else on the committee who would like to make a comment or suggestion on what we do?
Mr. Chairman, this is Brian. I think I'm on the committee. So yeah, I'm probably a little more educated than Mark on it because I've been on it a little longer. But to me, that request on the notifications, I think sounds okay. If we know that it's what district it's going to go to, so I think that change is fine. The term limitations. The term of the leases, unless it's, if it's going to go below Milner, then that would be concerning to me to have a long-term lease with power company or something like that. But if it's for uses for basically mitigation on the ESPA, then to me it seems like there would be an advantage to having, to get some longer-term leases that would allow conversion projects or pipelines or things that you're going to need a supply of water, and I don't see the aquifer is going to lose these needs for mitigation. So I'm okay with a longer term. I don't know.
So Brian, let me just ask on that. Why just for this water bank and not a rental pool and not for all the rental pools then? Because all the other rental pools have that 5-year.
Yeah. Oh,
period.
I've always just understood that the tribal rental pool is a lot different. And I'm not sure if we went to negotiations that, the negotiations are going to go the tribe's way anyway. Like Mary said, you got the Bureau and you've got other people involved. But I guess I think I don't have a problem with a longer term on the lease with a few caveats on it that it basically stays above Milner, because on short term right now I think they can go below Milner with as much as they want. And so if we have longer term, to me if it's a aquifer benefit, then longer term is better. The aquifer is not going to go away.
Okay. Dale, anything? You're on this committee, Dale. I did look you up, so. Okay, any other board members would have any comments on these proposed rules?
Mr. Chairman, this is Jeff, having no responsibility whatsoever on this committee. I think Brian Olmstead maybe found a compromise there that we waive the 5-year limitation on rentals above Milner, but keep that in place for rentals that go below Milner.
Okay, and all right. Anybody else have any comments on the 5-year period? Okay, notification to the district. It seems like it's at least a reasonable request to change the notification to the Fort Hall Irrigation District from the Fort Hall Water Users Association that no longer exists. And in terms of the notification of the place of use and point of diversion, it seems like I was hearing a consensus that we would want that to be identified as, in the instance where there is a rental to an irrigation district or groundwater district, that we identify that entity as the both the place of use and point of diversion. but that for individual rentals, you would still need to identify the specific water user and their place of use and point of diversion. Did I misconstrue the comments? Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion from the committee. Brian, Mark, Dale, as to what we do with these rules. Do we want to ask Mary to make some additional edits? Or do you want to make the changes ourselves and then make that recommendation to the board with some changes?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just as a
Yeah, go
kind
ahead.
of as far as logistics go, the intent, if the committee chooses to move forward with those edits, the intent would be for this committee to recommend to the full board to adoption of these proposed rules with the edits you've discussed today. And then a week from today, there will be a special board meeting to approve the entire rule submittal package for this year, of which this would be one. So that would be the date at which you would actually formally adopt these rules for submission to the legislature.
So Brian, can we, from what I've heard, it would be nice to see, I don't know if we could do a oral motion to cover all the topics we discussed today, if we could get another version to put in front of and we could say the committee could make a motion to approve the rules with the oral amendments, but we need to see them. I would like to see them before we finally sign off on that to make sure that what everybody has a common understanding of what we're doing.
Yes, we have a couple of different ways we could do that. The first would be the entire rules package, including this, will be sent out for your review sometime late this week before the Monday meeting. So you would have a chance to see this package, this set of rules, before you would be asked to approve it on Monday. The other option is we could make the changes and try and get another committee meeting scheduled, sometime for Thursday or Friday.
I hate to turn down the opportunity for another committee meeting, Brian, but I think I prefer the former. And then if we have a meeting and we can do, if it's just not what we thought we were trying to accomplish, we can make those changes on Monday.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman. Oh.
Yes, Gary, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I could pull up the draft version real quick and we can just make sure those 3 that we talked about, those would be the only changes, and we could just do those real quick, unless y'all have some place to be at 2:30 or 2:30.
Well, it might be helpful for you to be able to do that, explain to us what you thought you heard.
Yeah.
Way of making changes. So unless people haven't, we do have other things to do by 2:30, but let's go ahead.
Okay. So our first change, go ahead and get that closed down so you can see the clean. Sorry if I keep going up and down. Currently 4001 right here is notice to the Fort Hall Irrigation Project water users. What I heard was that you wanted this to change to the Fort Hall Irrigation Project district, or I would have to ask Gail what that's actually called, the legal name, instead of water users.
It is referred to as the Fort Hall Irrigation Project.
Okay,
Yeah, so
So,
just like water users, yeah.
okay, notice to irrigation project, tribal stored water, assigned, rental in accordance, established agreement of the tribes in the Fort Hall irrigation project. Okay. That's the first one. Is that correct?
That's what I heard.
Okay. The second is content of approved rental agreements beginning at 4003 right here. And we go down to the legal description of the point of diversion and place of use. I don't know that it requires any modification here in rule. I think that Mr. Bovee, on behalf of West Water, understands that they can put in as the legal description the boundary for a groundwater district or a large place of use, but we could add some language here to clarify that it could be a large place of use boundary descriptor.
I would prefer to add some language. I know the governor wants us to reduce language, reduce word count, but the legal description of the point of diversion, place of use, and something like in the case of a large irrigation or groundwater district.
In progress.
Large irrigation districts.
Or groundwater district. How about not take out the large in case of a irrigation district or groundwater irrigation or groundwater district. The boundary of such district.
Do you want me to say attach electronic boundary or just state the boundary?
I think the boundary is fine.
Okay. In the case of irrigation groundwater district.
Identify the boundary or something like that.
So Al, this is Dean. Oftentimes the place of use won't be a district, it'll be a canal company. So I guess we might want to also add district or canal or irrigation entity or however you want to do that, because Twin Falls most generally gets the water and they're not a district.
Well, they're not renting it, right?
Right. No, that's
They're
true.
renting it,
But
so-
that's where the eventual use will be.
Well, no, but what we talked about was this mitigation use is for Aberdeen, American Falls, or whoever it is. That's who the place of use is for them, not for the ultimate transfer. Right? I mean, I thought that was the discussion, that whoever it was that was renting the water for mitigation, their place of use would be the place of use that would be described. And if you then make that water available to SWC for Twin Falls or Northside or whoever, that's not that's not who we are going to need on here, because that'll change from year to year. Based upon that calculation that the director does, it says, well, we need X acre feet for this district and Y acre feet for that district. Right? I mean, do I misunderstand how things work up there?
I think you're right, Al, the way we've described that. The way you described that, it's probably how it will work in the bank.
Okay. So go up to Mary, go just to the top, all approved rental agreements. So the rental application is going to be made by the groundwater district, right? Not by Twin Falls.
I'm not familiar enough with the mitigation plans. I think we would need Craig or Brett to help weigh in on how this language should be crafted or who's doing what. I'm outside of this, I'm sorry. Craig's got his hand up.
Okay, Craig, go ahead.
Maybe not necessarily a suggestion, but I can outline how the process works a little bit. So what happens often, and this is both with Water District 1's rental pool and the tribal rental pool, is this storage water will be acquired up front. It will be acquired by a groundwater district or some other entity. And they don't necessarily know where it's going to be diverted yet. And so what I always need from Water District 1's perspective is a point person. Okay, if you're not going to provide me with the point of diversion right now, I ultimately need the point of diversion by the end of the year in order to facilitate this delivery. And so we usually require them to give, Bob, Bobby, or whoever is in charge of making this assignment. And then that assignment is made before the end of the irrigation season. And I think another comment that was made is every year is different, where sometimes the rental may be assigned to different places. So just a little bit of background from what I see.
And this rental, this is for approved rental agreements. So this would be the effect of after this is done or to facilitate this being done for each year, correct?
Is that a question?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, an approved rental agreement at the end of the year for accounting purposes, they would tell you what that point of diversion is to help do that offset. So it's not unreasonable to have a legal description for the point of diversion, place of use, but how do we do that for these large?
But you can't do that up front, Mary, because
No, but that's right. I understand that.
So this is the application for a rental agreement for 20 years or 100 years.
No, this is the approved rental agreement. This is approved. This is not the application.
Right.
The application.
So we're going to approve renting this water for 100 years. We don't know where it's going. Right?
That's not the way the boards bank does it. So we wouldn't issue a rental agreement without knowing where it was going to be used.
Well, so how do you issue a rental agreement to the groundwater district that says you're going to rent 10,000 acre feet from the tribe? And then you're going to make that water available on a year-to-year basis to the SWC, depending on what the director says are the obligations in a particular year, which are going to change from year to year to year.
And that would be to the rental pool, not the boards bank. I think that's a Craig question. I'm sorry, for Mr. Chairman, when we do a rental for groundwater district, we identify the canal, the diversions for the canals that they would be delivering that water to, or I could pull up a rental and look and see specifically. We only have 3 or 4 groundwater districts that rent for mitigation by non-use. Not even our recharge, we are showing where this water is going to be diverted from so it can be accounted for by the water master of that area. The water master needs to know where the water is going to be diverted. Go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry.
You're good. Maybe a suggestion would be that the point of diversion needs to be identified by the end of the irrigation season.
The same way it is in 01.
Yeah, I mean, it's that is a required piece of information that I need. I cannot move water around from one account and deliver it to a canal if I do not know where it's going to be delivered. So I need to know that information eventually. It's just there's a complication with knowing that up front.
So what does the rental look like up front in Water District 1? If you're gonna rent water to XYZ groundwater district, 10,000 acre feet, they don't know where it's gonna go until the end of the season. What does the approval look like?
A lot of the contracts we receive have to be determined. And when we get one of these contracts that says to be determined for the point of diversion, we require them to provide a contact person, name and person, who will designate that point of diversion before the end of the season.
Does our water supply bank rules for Water District 1? Do they, or well, we approve them, right? Do they say the same thing that this one says? That you've got to identify the place of use and point of diversion up front?
Mr. Chairman, our water supply bank rules at DAPA 370203 does have the requirement, I believe it's under 40.3.g, that requires this point of diversion place of use. The Water District 01 also has their procedures that the board has also adopted. And in their procedures, it says that the renter must identify the point of diversion by the end of the accounting period or something similar. Craig can recite that specific language, but they do have a workaround for when they don't know exactly where the water will be pulled from in their procedures.
And we don't have procedures for this rental pool.
We do not.
Well, that still sounds right to me that, you know, the rental happens to the groundwater district who's going to use it for mitigation. And then by the end of the season, Brett or some other person who's on that particular agreement then notifies the water master, this is where it was delivered to. Or well, he delivers it, he notifies where it needs to be delivered to, right, Craig?
Yes, that's right.
But at the time of the lease, all we need to know is which groundwater districts have made the application for the water.
This is Dean, could we mirror what Water District 1s are?
The procedure?
Yeah. I mean, because it's all in Water District 1 anyway.
So we've identified the name of the renter, the amount of rights obligated, the beneficial use, which is mitigation, the rental price.
Mm-hmm.
And then can we just say the legal description and place of use for the water shall be identified prior to the diversion of water or prior to the end of the irrigation season, or some language similar to what's in 01?
I think that's the answer, Al. I think just up front, you identify who the renter is, and then obligate that renter to provide the additional information required for Water District 01 to make that delivery of the rented water to the proper point of diversion.
Yeah. So what's the timing on that? End of the irrigation season or prior to, I don't know what the right trigger is in Water District 1, Jeff.
Well, I would just say prior to the time that the water will be delivered. And I don't know if you have a firm date, Craig, for the O1 rental pool procedures, the private leases, or if it just kind of varies depending on when a determination is made, whether that storage water needs to be delivered or not.
Prior to diversion of the water each year.
Yes.
So this is Dean. Usually how it works, and Craig can correct me if I'm wrong. Usually how it works is we get to the end of the accounting deal and we figure out how much got used for conversions and everything else and then go that way. Craig, isn't that, instead of putting before the waters, just have it put in there by the end of the I don't how do you call that I know it's like in November we got to have everything closed up, right?
Yeah, I'd suggest using the term end of the accounting year. Right now, the end of the accounting year is by November 30th. So everything in O1's rental pool needs to be designated by then. But that accounting year has changed in the past and could change. So if you just leave it as accounting year, you'll cover that.
Okay.
Can I put accounting year for Water District 01? Would that be better to clarify whose accounting year in our rule?
Yes.
Creating a new term. Okay, well,
Think that through, Mary, and maybe Ann Wybar can help you wordsmith this.
right, I'm gonna make sure I'm also, so we have committee composition. I struck this because it's within the agreement and Snake River composition, okay. I just want to make sure I don't add a new term because then I'll need to define it and I want to make sure I use the same term that's in the agreement, but I will clarify that. So this would say the legal description of the point of diversion and place of use. I don't know if that makes sense. Legal description, the point of diversion, place of use will be identified by the end of the accounting year for Water District 01. And Mr. Chairman, I think I've struck about 70% of the word count. So I think adding even a paragraph in here is, we're going to be okay.
Okay. Committee members, board members, are you satisfied with the edits to .040 E? Oh, .04030 E. Okay, Mary, move on to the term. Did Jeff suggest that we get Ann to help us with that, or do you want to? Wasn't sure, Jeff, what you were referring to.
I was just referring to this wordsmithing in general. If Mary wanted a little help, that maybe Ann could assist her in crafting this to match everything else. But Mary just does it. I'm okay either way.
Okay. So the term of the rental, just strike the first sentence. Any rent water to be delivered below Milner. Does that satisfy your issue, Brian?
Yeah, I think that's okay. Long term is, if we're above Milner's, probably has some advantages.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mary.
because I'm given a limitation, I believe I'm required to give a statement prior to that saying that they could rent for any period of time except for when it's above Milner. I mean, below Milner. But perhaps it's okay the way it is.
I don't know that we need an unlimited statement, but defer to you and Ann and the rest
Okay.
of the committee.
So question then for Mary and Mr. Chairman. So when we approve these, if we approve them at the special board meeting, then does this require a tribal approval then for the tribal water bank, or these are just these are just our rules essentially, state rules?
Correct. We've done the negotiations through the rulemaking effort with the tribes.
Okay, so Mary, are there any other edits that you think we should be making today?
No, Mr. Chairman. These were the only ones that I needed to bring before your attention. The rest of the edits that we've made have been in place since our first revision, or first straw man.
Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation to the full board to adopt the Fort Hall Water Bank rules as amended in today's meeting.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark. I so move.
Brian seconds.
Okay. Committee members, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Dale?
Yeah, aye. Do you hear me?
Yep. I don't hear any opposed, so motion passes. Brian, Pat, do we have anything else on our agenda?
You do not, Mr. Chairman.
Uh,
Any other items board members may wish to bring up?
I'm sure the board members don't have any other items they wish to bring up. Isn't that right, Brian?
Mr. Chairman,
Dale. Go ahead.
yes. Are we gonna have a special board meeting on this or not?
Monday.
Yeah, but Monday, the 25th is a travel day for me to go to Boise for the Legislative College, Water College.
And I think we have a special board meeting that afternoon, don't we, Dale?
Maybe later in the day, I don't know my time. I'm not sure about the timeline there. But for most part of the day, I'll be traveling to Boise on Monday the 25th. We could do this Friday, the 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, the special meeting is set up for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock Mountain Time on a week from today on Monday.
Yeah, I can't make it. I mean, I'll be traveling. I don't know if maybe I can do by phone. I hate to be on the phone when I'm traveling. So,
Yeah.
we could do it Friday, the 22nd. I mean, that's just a work day earlier in a sense. Or
When can you be in Boise, Dale? If we shifted the time back a little?
maybe 4 o'clock. I get there, I can hook up with Brian, but I won't have the information unless it's posted. But I'll be leaving early Monday morning, so unless it's posted Friday, I could get the information down and then call in when I get to Boise.
We could shift it back to say 4 o'clock. I think for the Legislative Water College, there's a reception that starts at 6, I believe. So 4 o'clock could work.
Yeah, I'll try to be there.
I like that idea, Dale, because if we can be in person, it's a lot better. So
Yes.
we'll
So I could probably go right to the water center.
Yes.
Okay, that'll work.
Or yeah.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll get out an updated notice
Okay.
to everybody.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm good with that. I'll just leave early.
Yeah, sorry. Apologize about the scheduling complications.
That's okay. I can deal with it.
Any, anything further from anyone else? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
That was a hard one.
I just have to remember to save my draft.